snuck up on me there. What are you, some kind of ninja? You know, while we're on the topic, I noticed I've played a lot of Nindies on the Switch based on ninjas, especially in 2025. So what better way to sneak back into your subscription feed than to talk about some of the best ninja games on the Switch made by independent developers? We'll call them our Ninjindies. Ninjindies. Yeah, we'll go with that. Transition time! We'll start with my favorite of the bunch, and the game that made me want to make this video, because Shinobi Art of Vengeance, my friends, is just about as close to a 10 out of 10 video game as I've played in years. It's licensed by Sega, so maybe not the most indie of the Ninjindie bunch, but being developed by the masters at Lizard Cube, whose portfolio includes other Sega revitalization bangers like Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap and Streets of Rage 4, should tell you the quality you can expect here. Well, that and just look at it. Using their beautiful hand-drawn animation style, they've taken the Shinobi formula and turned it into a unique mix of 2D character action with some Metroidvania sensibilities. The game is level-based, with a few forks in the road, but each level has a definitive start and end, with the latter usually being a totally bitchin' boss that you'll turn into a fountain of blood. You'll work your way through towns that come under siege, enormous crumbling castles, neon city skylines, burning temples, and the occasional break to jump over explosions on a jet ski or surf through the air on a missile. You know, ninja shit. Seriously, was that not enough to sell you? Alright, fine. Each level contains 4 types of collectibles, of which I'd find about half on my first run-through, and had a blast tracking down on my way to 100% completion. In each level you'll find the 5 Oboro relics, which expand the shopkeeper's inventory for new attacks, special moves, and shuriken bomb thingies, a couple treasure chests that are often found at the end of a tricky platforming challenge and provide health and money bonuses, 3 elite squad battles, which are optional arena combat rooms and were my favorite part of the game, rewarding you with passive abilities like more forgiving counter timing or more magic. And then each level has a single Anku Rift, which are portals to the game's hardest challenges of any type, where completing them all unlocks this game's version of Champion's Road. And it is a doozy. The point is, there's a ton to do in this game. Gameplay-wise, the combat mixes light and heavy attacks, which deplete enemy shields and can be charged for more damage, combined with dashes, parries, and shurikens on top of a slew of magic ninpo abilities to imbue your sword with fire, shoot lightning from your freaking hands, throw bombs all over the place, or just turn you into a huge freaking cobra to decimate everything on screen. And when using all your abilities, Shinobi creates a glorious dance of elements, metal, and blood splatter as orbs for HP, ninpo, rage, and money fly out of every poor soul who meets the wrong end of your blade. Near the end of the campaign, you'll unlock abilities which make revisiting previous stages much more fun, and that's where the Metroidvania part comes in, as you learn to break barriers or traverse previously unpassable areas by combining jumps, air dashes, grappling hooks, glide cloths, and what's that? Yeah, this game does have a grappling hook too. You finish the game, unlock Boss Rush and a brand new arcade mode with detailed score and ranking systems, complete all of that, and, well, I'll let you find out for yourself. If the game's too hard, there are multiple accessibility options to allow for fine-tuning without feeling like you're cheating yourself. And y'all, if I'm being honest, at the tail end of one of the best years for indie games ever, Shinobi Art of Vengeance is right at the top of my list. So let's just sit back, listen to some of the amazing soundtrack composed by Yuzo Koshiro of Streets of Rage fame, as well as T. Freakin' Lopes. Alright, we've got more to cover, so let's move on to the other amazing Ninjindie revival that released this summer. Who could have ever imagined that we'd see both Shinobi and Ninja Gaiden revived in the same year, both by world-class indie developers, and that both of them would turn out just about as well as one could hope for? Well, that's exactly what we got with Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, which was developed by the Game Kitchen, who's best known for Blasphemous. Surprising, because those games are known for their slower, Souls-like combat, but they more than proved themselves because Ragebound nails the fast pacing of the classic NES trilogy while throwing in a couple of new mechanics and a surprisingly cool story. If Shinobi's about exploration and huge set pieces, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is about grabbing you by the wrist and running. The game rarely lets up in its frantic yet measured pacing, and most enemies are defeated in one or two well-timed hits, so you're encouraged to hit the ground running and utilize all your flippy ninja acrobatics alongside your katana or kunai to get through each level as efficiently as possible. The game's gimmick, so to speak, is how you essentially play as two characters merged into one moveset. Stronger enemies will glow with an aura, and depending on the color, you can take them out with the respective katana or kunai, each being dedicated to its own face button for convenience. Pull off the attack, and your follow-up attack is significantly more powerful. Naturally, that combo-building, pattern-chasing formula is blended in throughout the rest of the game, and at times it works so well that it creates a Tetris-like flow state, which is easily when Ragebound is at its best. This game also encourages you to revisit levels for better timing and optional challenges, though while that aspect is more front and center than Shinobi, it's much less important. If you want to go for it, you'll be handsomely rewarded, but if you just want to play through a badass ninja action game, there's nothing lost for skipping the challenges or leveraging the plentiful supply of accessibility options. It should go without saying by now that the pixel art on display is downright breathtaking, and the soundtrack is outstanding as well, but for me personally, I prefer Shinobi just a tiny bit more. Ragebound will take about 6 or 7 hours to beat, doubling that if you go for completion, with Shinobi delivering about 10 hours of gameplay, doubling that if you go for completion. I would encourage almost any gamer to check out both of these games, and they both have meaty demos available on the eShop, so you can give them a shot risk-free. If you want balls-to-the-wall ninja action, you can't beat Ninja Gaiden, and if you prefer a bit more exploration and deeper combat, Shinobi's gonna be the ninja for you. But if neither of those nindies are doing it for you, let's take a quick look at 4 fantastic ninja-focused games also on the Switch from independent developers. One of the earlier releases for the Switch on today's list, releasing in 2019 at the height of Nindie Mania, Katana Zero is a modern, timeless classic that, surprisingly enough, still has a free expansion DLC coming as part of the game's 7th anniversary next year. You play as an amnesiac veteran with the ability to see the future as multiple potential outcomes and use that ability to murder bad guys, mostly drug lords in a futuristic cyberpunk city. The game is split up into 2 pieces, with most of your time spent casing a 2D room before running through it, killing everyone without taking a scratch, and if you aren't perfect, you restart instantly and have a chance to see exactly what got you last time and how to avoid it the next time. If you've ever played Hotline Miami, it is very much like a side-scrolling version of that, and is one of those games that makes you feel like a badass genius every single time you clear a room. On the flip side, your handler is also your psychiatrist who holds sessions with you in between your flawless dances of murder. If you open up, you'll learn more about where you come from and develop your otherworldly abilities. But if you choose to suppress your emotions to focus on bloodshed, you become a more vicious assassin. The game absolutely rules, and the soundtrack is iconic for anyone who's played the game. It'll only take you about 5 hours to clear, but every second is a treat, and someday we'll see that free expansion to give you even more of the mentally unstable yet brutally efficient futuristic murder device you'll come to know and love. Nowadays, Clay Games is most known for Don't Starve, but those who were around during the Xbox Live Summer of Arcade era know them as one of the original console indie darlings, with games like Shank and Shank 2. God, where are those games? They were so good! Invisible Ink, the more recent Griftlands, or more specifically for today's video, their first breakout hit, the practically flawless Mark of the Ninja. Among the Ninja Indies, this one stands out as being the most tense and methodically paced of the bunch, focusing on larger levels with impressive player freedom and a steadfast focus on stealth. Do you take out the lights and use cover to make it through the 10-hour campaign without killing a single enemy? Or do you leave a silent trail of death in your wake? The choice is yours, and probably more so than most games you've ever played. As one of the finest examples of stealth gaming, Mark of the Ninja loads you up with such a killer ninja arsenal.
No pun intended.
One of the hardest choices is deciding between using your blades, hands, feet, grappling hooks, smoke bombs, etc., or leveraging your environment to pull enemies into the shadows, drop signs, lights, and flower pots on them from up high, or even turn their own teammates against them. Every scene is incredibly tense, and while there's room for a little error, most players will just retry if things start going sideways. Given the hand-drawn artwork and a slew of special edition content to chip away at, I bet most of you would be floored to learn that the game you're seeing now originally released all the way back in 2012, though the remastered version on Switch was released in 2018. If tense, stealth-based action is what you're looking for, it's hard to recommend many games from any system or any genre above Mark of the Ninja, as it's truly an all-time great and is regularly only $5 on the eShop. Oh, Cyber Shadow, the game I hold as the hardest title I've ever completed. When I say that, I don't mean I've never played anything more challenging. I mean that when you combine the challenge, punishment, and fairness, Cyber Shadow stands as my personal crowning achievement by way of
oh yeah, I beat that.
And I still look back on it very fondly. Being the first game published by the house that Shovel Knight built, there's several aspects of Cyber Shadow which are obvious to anyone familiar with the treasure trove, that Yacht Club Games took more of an advisory and production role with this title rather than just funding the project and being hands-off, which is a good thing because Yacht Club's focus on quality and precision is on full display here. Developed and released by Mechaskull in January 2021, Cyber Shadow landed the number 5 spot on my favorite indies of the year and comes highly recommended. It follows in many of the same footsteps as Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, in that it wants you to keep moving while requiring both precision and quick reflexes as you work your way through its 8-hour post-apocalyptic story. There's a few upgrades, some collectibles to find, and a couple of branching paths, but just like Shovel Knight, the focus here is on quality over quantity. So the campaign gives you the tools you need and moves briskly through a story devoid of any fluff. It's all killer, no filler, and it is hard as balls. You're gonna die a lot, but checkpoints are plentiful, and restarting is very snappy, so it's all part of the fun as you work towards some truly satisfying moments. Of today's list, the two games that are most similar are indeed Cyber Shadow and Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, with the latter being a bit more modern and much more forgiving. That said, Cyber Shadow is always fair, so there is a hefty challenge to overcome, but it is never downright frustrating and sticks much closer to its retro-inspired roots. Nindie Nation historians may remember The Messenger as the game that, when it released and we covered it back around episode 20 on the channel, I didn't like it. I just didn't care for its 8-bit approach to challenging Ninja Gaiden gameplay. But then you may also remember how just about 2 weeks later, I fell on my sword and admitted how wrong I was because I had fallen head over heels in love with this game. The Messenger is a tale of two different games. You start with an interesting story driving through an 8-bit Ninja Gaiden-like with a little more emphasis on mobility thanks to the pogo feature that lets you bounce off of enemy projectiles and items on screen just to keep momentum going. It is incredibly difficult. In fact, I think it's a bit too difficult in its first few hours, because after those first few hours, that's when the magic happens. You'll topple a stupid hard boss that finally kicks the game off proper by weaving a time-traveling parallel universe story where you play half the game in the 8-bit fashion you know, and the other half in a beautiful 16-bit aesthetic where the music and visuals match perfectly. At that point, the game turns a bit more into a Metroidvania, but is less open-ended exploration and more just revisiting a few areas to find things you couldn't previously reach. A traditional Metroidvania, this is not. Developed by the absolute rock stars at Sabotage Studio, this is a prequel of sorts to the immaculate JRPG Sea of Stars, which was our 2023 Game of the Year. And that overall display of production and gameplay was just as strong here with The Messenger. It's not quite as tough as Cyber Shadow, but if it's a challenging 20-ish hour game you're looking for, The Messenger does not disappoint and is often bundled with its Picnic Panic DLC. And just for good measure, if you've played all of these games, or just want to see where these Ninjindies take inspiration from, here are 3 more ninja games that are more indie in spirit, that otherwise fit too well in today's video to ignore. Shadow of the Ninja Reborn released in 2024 and is a reimagining of the Natsume original that came to the NES in 1990 and happened to be a frequent rental in the home of yours truly. Developed by Tango Project, who has a knack for reimagining games from this era, just as they did with Pocky and Rocky, Wild Guns, and the next game on our list, Shadow of the Ninja Reborn is a gorgeous ground-up reimagining in a 2D 32-bit art style. It's more focused on slower-paced but continuous action and has an insane difficulty level, but you get tons of gear to play with in sandbox-like levels that make this feel a bit more like an action-focused companion to Mark of the Ninja. It really is outstanding, but I highly recommend checking out the demo on the eShop first to see if you can handle the game's first level alone. Just be prepared to try several times before giving up, because it's tough. The Ninja Saviors: Return of the Ninja Warriors is much simpler in premise. Originally an arcade game from the early 90s, this other remake by Tango is a visual facelift with slight changes here and there, but is otherwise the 2-hour-long arcade game where you walk to the right and kill things as a ninja robot. You do have 5 different characters to choose from, and each have fairly different movesets, and there are also a couple of branching paths and difficulty options, and it's really fun in 2-player co-op, but my overall recommendation would be to grab this one on sale if you like what you see. It's really fun, but there's just not a ton of meat on the bone. And finally, a game I loved playing on my Game Boy Advance back in college while waiting for my business law class to start. I really never thought I'd mention Ninja 5-0 again. So imagine my surprise when a port of the hard-to-find Konami classic arrived on the Switch earlier this year by Limited Run Games. While it's probably the least indie of today's titles, Ninja 5-0 is also probably the game that sits most in the middle of every game in this video. It's about 4 hours long, or double that if you're a completionist, and has some great, fast-paced action, some slower puzzle-like rooms to clear, easy-to-learn combat, cool set pieces, especially for a GBA game, and of course gives you a bunch of ninja toys to play with as you see fit. It's regularly on sale for $15, and for that price, I think it's a great game to add to your library. Psh, ninjas, am I right? Maybe it's the 90s kid in me talking, but ninjas are just so freaking cool. And thanks to games like these, there are plenty of opportunities to partake in whatever ninja fantasy suits your fancy. Find anything new in this video, or think of another beloved Ninjindie that I missed? Let me know in the comments, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, hit the like button and subscribe. Otherwise, I might take another 9-month break between videos. You've been warned. This is a fun video to put together, and a great way to shake off the rust after some time off, so I hope you enjoyed it and found something new to play. Stop by our Discord if you want to chat with cool people about cool things like indie games and ninjas, and until next time, citizens, thank you for watching.